Welcome back to school. Hope you've all had a lovely half term. To warm up our brains this morning, what I want you to do is have a think about how many units of measurement you can think of. Go and get a piece of paper and a pencil if you don't have one already, or whatever you have to write with, and write down as many units of measurement that you can think of. So, hopefully you've done that. You've come up with a nice long list for me. If not, please go and do this, or just warm your brains up. What we want to be thinking about is what we can measure. So we can measure length, we can measure mass, and we can measure volume. These have different names. So length we might be measuring in centimetres or metres, kilometres. Some people measure in miles and feet and inches as well. They're called imperial units of measurement. We're looking at them later. Weight or mass, you can measure in grams, kilograms. Some people might also measure them in ounces, stone. And then the last one is volume or capacity, and that's to measure things like millilitres, litres, or you might even measure them in gallons, fluid ounces. But yeah, they're the main ones. Off we go. So, can you think about the most appropriate unit to measure in? So length, can it be measured in millilitres, centimetres or kilograms? Mass, can it be measured in litres, tonnes or kilometres? Capacity can be measured in millimetres, grams or millilitres. Have a think about that, and then make a sensible estimate to the height of the giraffe, ladybird and rubber. So, length. Well, that's going to be centimetres. So that's the only one that measures the length. Millilitres is for volume, and kilograms for mass. Mass can be measured, well, that's a tonne, and capacity can be measured in millilitres. Okay. Match each length to a sensible estimate. The height of the giraffe, well, the giraffe's the biggest one of these, so we need to be thinking about which one of those is worth the most. So it's a centimetre, a metre, or a millimetre. Which one's worth the most? The most is the metre. So the length of the ladybird. The ladybird's the smallest of the three, so which one of those measures the smallest amount? Millimetres are worth less, and centimetres in the middle. There we go. So today we're going to think about, can I recognise units of measurement? Have a think, match the word to its definition, unpause when you're ready to hear the solution. So, length is the measurement of something from end to end. Capacity, what does that mean? The maximum amount that something can contain. And mass, the amount of matter that makes up an object or substance. So, mass you might hear about weight, or capacity you might hear about volume. They're different words for it. Okay, so I want you to sort the metric units into the correct categories. Length, capacity and mass, which one would you put where? So length, we have centimetres, kilometres, we also have millimetres and metres. Capacity, what do we have? We have millilitres. Can you think of any more? Litres, centilitres is another one. And mass, to do with weight, we have things like tonnes and grams, but you also might think of kilograms. These are the metric units. Before we were talking about the imperial, we're not really going to look at those today. So, what is the most appropriate unit to measure the mass of each object? So you need to think about which one is heaviest, which one is lightest, and which one of these measurements matches with a heavier or a lighter amount. You could measure any of them in any of them, but it would just be a bit silly. So, the heaviest one of these is the car, so we're going to measure the car in tonnes. The lightest one is the apple, we're going to measure that in grams, and the child we will measure in kilograms. You could weigh a car in grams if you want, but it would be a very large number, so that's why we're thinking about the most appropriate unit to measure. Okay, so what is the most appropriate unit to measure the capacity of each object? This one's a bit tricky, don't get fooled. So, well, water and this lovely strawberry milkshake looking drink, they're quite similar. The swimming pool is a lot larger. Hopefully that's a clue. Because I'd measure both the drinks in millilitres because they're smaller. I'd measure the swimming pool in litres because it's a lot larger. G's been left out. Have a think about why. Well, G stands for grams. What does grams measure? It measures the mass or the weight. It does not measure the capacity or the volume of an object. So have a go at your White Rose worksheets, questions 1 to 3. And then, when you've done that, listen on for the rest. So, what I want you to do is circle the best estimate for each item. The capacity of a bottle of shampoo, the length of a book, and the mass of an adult dog. And for that adult dog, I know it would vary. An adult Yorkshire Terrier or Chihuahua is going to be a lot lighter than an adult Husky or Labrador. Let's think about an average dog here. Let's go for a poodle. There we are. The mass of an adult poodle. So, thinking about that bottle of shampoo, hopefully you've had a think about which ones are good guesses. So, if you don't know, an L, a litre, do you know anything which would be about a litre? Or do you know anything that is measured in litres which would help you? So, a large bottle of fizzy pop like Coca-Cola would normally come in a 2-litre bottle, so think about that. And things like medicine, we would measure out on one of those little teaspoon things, and we'd measure that in millilitres. So, the bottle of shampoo, what's it going to be? The length of a book. Think about anything you know, which is about 20 centimetres long, or 200 centimetres. How big's a metre stick? Is it bigger or smaller than the length of a book? Thinking about dogs. Grams. Do you know anything in the weight of grams? So I'd say a chocolate bar, it's my point of reference, it's probably 35 grams, something like that. And a bag of flour is probably a kilogram. Okay, so the shampoo, good guess was 300 millilitres. 3 litres is just far too big. Shampoo, unless you work at some massive hairdressers or something, you might get massive bottles, but a normal bottle of shampoo is about 300 millilitres. A lot bigger than some medicine. That's still a very small amount. 300 ml is a good guess. The length of a book is 20 centimetres was your good guess. Thinking of a ruler for being 30 centimetres, so it's a bit shorter than a ruler. 2/3 even. And the mass of an adult dog, 15 kilograms. If it was a Yorkshire Terrier or a very small dog, it might be 1.5. But a normal average dog, 15 kilograms. So, on to some reasoning and problem solving. Tiny here says, I'm going to measure the length of the desk in millimetres. Do we think this is a good idea? Can you come up with a solution? So, you could do tiny, but millimetres are usually used to measure the length of small items. I think centimetres would be better. Do we agree? I think that's quite a sensible suggestion there. Or even metres and centimetres. Yeah, good idea. Millimetres usually used to measure very small things. Okay. Felix is measuring the height of his classmates and recording his result. However, silly Felix has forgotten to write the unit of measurement. What could he put? Which unit of measurement could he use for each length? So if you think about the height of a child, 1.1 what? Is it going to be millimetres, centimetres, metres? I'd say most children are around a metre-ish, so it's 1.1 metres is a good guess. Lizzie, 102. Millimetres, centimetres, or metres? 102 centimetres is a good guess. Because remember, 100 centimetres go into a metre, so it's just bigger than a metre. And Isla, 0.9, same as Peter, metres, just shy of a metre. Okay. The children are estimating how far it is to walk to assembly. Sam says, I think it will be around 117 metres. And India says, I think it will be around 117 centimetres. Who do you agree with and why? Well, 117 centimetres, just bigger than a metre stick. So unless the classroom is right next door to the assembly hall, that's not a very good guess. I think Sam's guess is a very good guess. 117 metres. And this is what it might look like on a stats question. Circle the approximate measurement. What do we think a good guess for the length of a banana, the mass of an apple, or a glass of fruit juice? What do you think is a good guess? Well, a good guess for a length of a banana, not too dissimilar to a book, 20 centimetres maybe. Some of those either far too big or far too small. The mass of an apple, a good guess. 2 grams far too small. 20 kilograms, far too big. 200 kilograms, even bigger than that. So it's between 200 grams and 2 kilograms. 200 grams is a lot better. 2 kilograms, 2 bags of flour, no, that's too heavy still. And a glass of fruit juice. Thinking about millilitres being for measuring medicine, very small amounts. Litres being for a big bottle of pop. So a glass of a fruit juice, depends how big it is. Probably 200 millilitres if you're having a nice glass. Nice big glass there. Alright, you can get on with the rest of your questions for White Rose, and I'll upload the answer sheet as well so you can mark your questions. And if you have any issues, feel free to post on a blog post. See you later. Bye guys.